So, I figured the best place to start with the Naiaan setting is the Naigraans themselves. They are, after all, at the heart of the story. And forgive me, I had to make sure this music was on loop. So, who or what are the Naigraans? Well, the Naigraans are an alien species, native to the planet Naiaan, as the name and the name of the video might suggest. So, who are they? What's their deal? Well, the Naigraans are a mammalian species. Now, I know what you're thinking. Mammalian? This guy has to be a furry, right? Only the tasteful art. You won't catch me dead in one of those suits. Like, nothing against it, it just never interested me. So, anywho, the Naigraans are a sophont species, much like humans. Of course, they have language, they have culture, they have knowledge that can pass down through the ages, not unlike humans. And of course, like humans, they have friends, they have families, they have disagreements, they have differences of opinion. But if there are a few core facets of their culture, they have a deep respect for warriors, they have a deep love of family and kin, and even more so than we do, they have a strong desire for freedom and independence. Free will is so serious for them that it is a core facet of many of their religions. But of course, I'll get into Naigraan religions at a different point. The point is here is the Naigraans themselves. Naiaan is not a very populated world. At the point the book starts, the Naigraans are at a point technologically very similar to our own interwar period. That is, the period between World War I and World War II. So, they have all the things that you might expect of that period. They have tanks, they have rapid-fire weapons, they have planes, they have ships that are powered by the use of steam. But of course, they are also undergoing a pretty rapid technological development because they learned a great and terrible truth about their place in the cosmos. About 50 years ago, they learned the hard way that they are not alone in the universe. Their planet was invaded by an alien species that had no regard for them whatsoever. And through grit and determination, and through the sheer fact that, well, there are a few facets that caused the invasion to fail, but it is often attributed to the fact that the Naigraans simply refused to let their planet fall to the hands of an alien species that couldn't give two flying flips about them, or about their world for that matter. This, in turn, So these aliens, the monarchs, as unimaginative as that name may sound, they came to the planet Naiaan with one goal in mind: to expand their empire. I'll talk more about the monarchs in a later video, probably because in Soldiers of Naiaan, they don't make an appearance all that much. There's references to them, their technology makes an appearance here and there, but other than that, the only real relevance they have to the plot is that Soldiers of Naiaan takes place in a post-invasion age. The Naigraans are at a point where they know there are other alien species out there, both good and bad in the form, bad in the form of the monarchs, and good in the form of the Klexarin, an alien species that came to their world to serve as their benefactors. Think, from Star Trek, the relationship between humanity and the Vulcans. But, of course, that is another thing to talk about down the road. So, over the course of the book, it's obvious that the Naigraans are moving forward technologically. Heck, in the prologue, you have perhaps the most advanced aircraft carrier, the Shield of Korra, and the best pilots in the Republic of Vestrion, Dragon's 10, who are a direct reference to Top Gun in our own US Navy. They're the only ones with access to jet aircraft. Now, granted, the interwar period, the time between the interwar period and the development of the first jet aircraft was not that big. Only about 10, 20 years or so. But still, it's a pretty big gap when you have one power who has only biplanes and another power that has jet aircraft in the same airspace. So, as you read the book, yeah, there is a bit of a technological gap between the Republic of Vestrion, whose perspective I take, and the Kingdom of Gasharaz, the quote-unquote antagonists. But I'll talk about them at a later point. So, what is the deal with the Naigraans and their interaction with Naiaan itself? Well, the Naigraans have a deep respect for the world on which they live. And not just because they live on it, which, of course, should be a basic thing. Any sophont species should have a deep respect for the world on which they live. Humanity could take a few lessons from that. But of course, it is also because, according to many Naigraan faiths, Naiaan is, in itself, something of a deity. Well, not a deity as we would know it. It's kind of like personifying the earth itself. So, like, say, for instance, take from Greek mythology, Gaia is not so much the goddess of Earth as much as she was the Earth itself. all other things stemmed from her. Well, that is, all other material things. There were gods and goddesses that existed before Gaia in Greek mythology, and of course gods and goddesses that existed after her. I am going off on a bit of a tangent there, but the long and short of it is, Naiaan itself is very important to the Naigraans, and they do their level best to respect Naiaan, live in harmony with Naiaan, while at the same time advancing technologically in order to, well, to survive in an increasingly hostile cosmos. Now, that's not to say that... Okay, look. There's this misconception that technological advancement and preservation of nature are mutually exclusive. I am firmly of the belief that they are not. And this, I think, is reflected in how I handle the Naigraans. They love nature, but at the same time, they recognize the importance of technology. So the long and short of it is that I like the idea that the Naigraans are supposed to be something, a reflection of humanity, a better reflection of humanity. That there's a lot of things that I believe that have been instilled in this setting that I've created. I love technology, and I love nature. And that, I think, reflects very well in the Naigraans themselves. And on top of that, I do think that the Naigraans are a very relatable species, because they are essentially human beings. Sure, they look different. Their physiology may be different to that of ours, but they are, in essence, human. Not unlike you and I. These beings with Asher blood, with bones that contain small bits of tin and copper, essentially making their bones a naturally occurring bronze. These creatures with thicker hides than we do, that are coated in a layer of short fur. Which, okay, I'm going out and getting off into a tangent on their physiology here. So, let's lean into it. The Naigraans are very canine in their appearance. Now, they're not dogs. After all, Naiaan has no dogs. Because Naiaan is a world separate from Earth, distinct and different from Earth. Therefore, Naiaan's life is not Earth life. There are no dogs on Naiaan because there are no mammals on Naiaan. There are no mammals on Naiaan because there were no stem mammals. No stem mammals because there were no reptiles, no amphibians, fish, and you get the point. However, Naiaan as a general thing has animals that generally followed along the same pathways that life on Earth did. There are a lot of animals that look very similar to animals that once existed on our world in our prehistory. It's a bit complicated to explain here, but the Naigraans are descended from a species of hoofed predators. And yes, there were at one time predatory animals that had hooves, part of the ungulata. But, anyway. So, the Naigraans are very dog-like in some ways, but, of course, have their distinct differences. They have a humanoid body plan. They have 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils. They're basically human-like in their overall appearance. But of course, they have these long jaws that in the past I've described as rather crocodilian, but are certainly more wolf or dog-like when really looking at them. They have several types of teeth, much like we do. Much like most mammals do, really. They are omnivorous, though they do favor meat. Which, frankly, I don't blame them. Meat is good. Sorry to all the vegans in the audience. But at any rate, I have developed the Naigraan species over a long period of time. I couldn't tell you each and every facet of their physiology, every single facet of their appearance. It's like, I could not tell you, like, just how much thought was put into these guys. And of course, Soldiers of Naiaan, the first book in the series, focuses on the Naigraans. And indeed, the whole series will focus on the Naigraans to a great extent. The long and short of it is that I love these guys. I really do. And I just know that come the time the book is published, when Soldiers of Naiaan is published, you will come to like this. You'll come to like the characters I've created, the story that I've written. I just know that it's all gonna pan out. I don't plan to be, well, that is, I'm not keeping my hopes up that I'm gonna be really rich and famous. But if I'm just rich enough to, if I end up getting enough to live to a means where I'm comfortable on my own, then that would be enough for me. I just desire to live within my means. This book, and indeed the books that are to come, they're both a means. Yes, they're a means of making money for myself, but at the same time, through these books, I have a lot to say. And as you may have noticed in both of these videos, I have never been that good with words. So, why do you think it's taking me 2.5 years to write a book in the first place? Well, at any rate, I'll talk to you later, folks. Thanks for putting up with my tangent for a while. See ya.